At just 35 years old, gospel singer Jonathan McReynolds has finally had one of the biggest mysteries about his life confirmed. But here's the twist: it didn't come from him. It came from his mother. After years of quiet speculation, hushed whispers in the gospel community, and fans piecing together clues from his music, his mother has stepped forward and revealed what so many had long suspected. This revelation is far more than something personal. It reshapes how we see Jonathan, his journey, and the challenges he's overcome while building a career rooted in faith and transparency. But the real question lingers: what exactly did she confirm, and why now? Stay with me, because these details will leave you stunned. Jonathan McReynolds is not just another gospel singer. At only 35, he has already become one of the most influential voices of his generation, blending traditional gospel with modern, soul-stirring sounds that reach far beyond church pews. Songs like Make Room and People have touched audiences deeply. And it isn't just because of their melodies. Jonathan has never been afraid to show vulnerability, to write about his struggles, his doubts, and his imperfections. But despite all that honesty, a cloud of curiosity has always hovered over his personal life. Fans have long wondered, what truly fuels Jonathan's lyrics?
What obstacles has he battled behind the scenes? Why does he guard certain aspects of his life so fiercely? For years, the answers stayed hidden. Jonathan kept his private world locked away, refusing to play into gossip or speculation. But now, for the very first time, his mother has spoken out, confirming something many suspected but were never able to prove. And this revelation changes everything. In today's video, we're going to break down what Jonathan's mother revealed, why this confirmation matters, and how it shines new light on the man behind the music. You'll hear the backstory, the emotional weight of his mother's words, and the ripple effect this could have on his career and legacy. And trust me, this isn't just another story about a gospel singer. This is about faith, family, and the cost of being truly honest in a world that demands perfection. So stick with me, because as we go deeper into Jonathan's journey, you'll discover sides of him most people never knew existed. Jonathan Caleb McReynolds wasn't born into fame. His story begins on the south side of Chicago, where music wasn't just a hobby, it was survival. Raised in a single-parent home, Jonathan's mother became the anchor of his life. She nurtured him, disciplined him, and most importantly, believed in his gift. Even when he couldn't see it himself. Jonathan often shares how his mom kept him grounded. She wasn't the kind of mother to push her child into the spotlight just for attention or fame. Instead, she encouraged him to stay true to himself and to his faith. In many ways, the woman we now know for this shocking revelation has quietly been the architect of Jonathan's career all along. From the very beginning, Jonathan showed promise. He wasn't just another kid in the choir. His voice carried something special, a blend of vulnerability and conviction that made people stop and listen. His mother also made sure he stayed rooted in education. She sent him to Whitney Young High School and later Columbia College Chicago, where he studied music. While many gospel artists grew solely out of church traditions, Jonathan combined his church roots with formal training, creating a sound that was unlike anyone else's. But here's where it gets interesting. Jonathan never went chasing after fame. In fact, he was reluctant when it came to stepping into the spotlight. His very first project, Life Music, was released independently back in 2012. Much of it was recorded right at home with basic equipment, never with the thought that it would end up becoming the launching pad for his career. Yet, almost overnight, the industry started paying attention. His songs weren't just catchy tunes. They were raw and personal, reflecting the quiet battles so many people face within themselves. Before long, Jonathan's music began catching the ears of gospel legends. Icons like Kirk Franklin and Cease Winans praised him for his honesty. He wasn't writing songs to impress the world, he was writing to heal, to confess, and to connect. And that connection turned into something powerful. Soon, he was winning awards, earning Grammy nominations, and performing across global stages, all while keeping close to his roots. But while Jonathan's professional life was taking off, his personal world stayed mostly hidden. Unlike many public figures who openly shared their relationships, their struggles, or even their scandals, Jonathan remained silent. Fans wondered about his dating life, what inspired certain lyrics, and why he chose to guard certain parts of himself so carefully. Yet, through it all, one person knew the truth: his mother. And now, through her recent confirmation, she has finally given answers to questions fans have been asking for years. But here's where the story takes a turn. Jonathan's rise isn't simply about music or fame. It's about resilience, about sacrifice, and about a young man carrying the weight of expectations while trying to remain true to himself. That's what makes his mother's words so powerful today. And as we go forward, we'll uncover not just Jonathan's struggles, but the emotional moment when his mother finally broke her silence. What she revealed left fans stunned, and it may forever change the way you see Jonathan McReynolds on the outside. Jonathan's career has looked like a steady climb upward. The awards, the sold-out shows, the collaborations with gospel icons, and his growing reputation as the new face of gospel music all made it easy to believe everything in his life was flawless. But as we all know, what happens on stage often looks very different from what's happening behind the scenes. Jonathan's music gives us glimpses into that hidden reality. Listen closely to songs like Cycles or People. These aren't just creative pieces of art, they are confessions. In Cycles, Jonathan reveals the struggles that seem to repeat themselves in his life, as though he can't break free from certain patterns. And in People, he vulnerably admits how exhausting it can be to live under the weight of everyone else's expectations. These songs resonated with millions because they weren't just polished performances, they were desperate cries for understanding. What most fans didn't realize, however, was that Jonathan was carrying tremendous pressure. There was pressure from the industry, pressure from the church, and pressure he placed on himself. Being young, successful, and outspoken about his faith made him into a role model whether he wanted it or not. People saw him as a symbol of strength and purity, but the truth was, he was still just a man in his 20s trying to figure life out. Imagine being only 23 and suddenly living under a spotlight where every move is being judged. Fans demanded transparency from him, yet at the very same time expected perfection. One misstep, one mistake, could overshadow everything he had built. That was the kind of pressure Jonathan was under, and his mother witnessed it all in real time. Behind closed doors, he wrestled with insecurities, and interviews often hinted at this inner battle. He admitted many times that he never felt churchy enough for traditional gospel audiences. But at the same time, he wasn't secular enough for mainstream listeners either. He existed somewhere in between, trying to create a space where authenticity mattered more than labels. And that middle ground became both his greatest gift and his heaviest burden. His mother often became the person he confided in. She knew his doubts, his frustrations, and the heavy weight he carried once he stepped off stage and returned to silence. While fans witnessed the polished, confident performer, she saw the son who constantly questioned whether he was good enough, strong enough, and if his voice truly mattered in the long run. That ongoing battle took a toll. The very songs that inspired millions across the globe were born out of Jonathan's own tears, his questions, and countless late-night conversations with God. And this is exactly why his mother's recent confirmation carries such powerful meaning. She wasn't simply speaking about Jonathan the gospel star, she was speaking about Jonathan the son, the man behind the music, the one quietly fighting battles the world never knew existed. And as you'll see in the next part of this story, her decision to finally speak wasn't random at all. It was intentional, emotional, and timed for a reason. But here's the shocking twist. What she revealed doesn't just explain Jonathan's struggles. It may completely change the way fans interpret his music moving forward. For years, Jonathan McReynolds' mother kept silent publicly about her son's personal journey. She watched as fans speculated online, as blogs wrote stories, and as interviewers carefully danced around questions Jonathan never fully answered. Yet behind closed doors, she carried truths only a mother could hold. Those truths eventually spilled out in one emotional moment that left fans stunned. And this wasn't some staged celebrity family story. It wasn't about headlines or gossip. It was about a mother finally speaking from her heart, breaking years of silence because she believed the right time had come. During a conversation that quickly went viral across social media, Jonathan's mother confirmed something fans had long suspected but never actually heard. Her voice shook as she admitted how painful it was to watch her son carry such a heavy load. She described the tears he cried in private, the questions he struggled with late at night, and the moments where he doubted whether he could keep going. But what truly stood out was the raw emotion in her tone. This wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished for cameras. It was unfiltered honesty, the kind that only a mother could share. She revealed there were seasons in Jonathan's life when the weight nearly broke him, when the world's expectations felt unbearable. And then came the part that shocked everyone. She confirmed what fans had whispered for years, that Jonathan's battles weren't just creative ones. They were deeply personal, rooted in challenges that shaped both his faith and his music. For Jonathan's mother, sharing this truth wasn't easy. She had always been protective of her son, careful about what the world saw. But in that moment, she chose honesty over silence. She said, "People see the gift, but they don't always see the pain that created it." And that single line hit like a thunderbolt. Fans immediately began dissecting her words, connecting the dots between Jonathan's lyrics and his life. Suddenly, songs that once sounded like poetic reflections carried a heavier, more personal meaning. Tracks like Cycles, Loving Me, and Gotta Have You felt less like performances and more like survival notes from someone holding on through the struggle. But here's what left people speechless. Jonathan's mother didn't reveal this to stir pity. She shared it so people could finally understand the true cost of greatness. She wanted the world to understand that her son's authenticity wasn't something crafted for the spotlight. It was forged through real pain, real struggles, and real resilience. Her confession opened the floodgates. Some fans were stunned, others felt empathy, and many praised her courage. Yet, as powerful as her words were, they also sparked new questions. Why now? Why choose this moment when Jonathan is at the height of his career to reveal something so personal? And this is where the story takes another surprising turn. Because as emotional as her confession was, it wasn't the full story. There's another layer, one that explains why Jonathan's mother finally felt compelled to break her silence after so many years of protecting him. And trust me, this part will leave you even more shocked. When Jonathan McReynolds' mother finally spoke out, fans were left asking the same thing: why now? After years of guarding her son's privacy, after decades of keeping his struggles inside the family circle, why choose this moment when Jonathan is at the peak of his influence to make such a personal confession? The answer comes down to timing. Once you look at the circumstances, her decision begins to make sense. First, Jonathan has reached a pivotal moment in his career. At 35, he's no longer just the young newcomer in gospel music. He's established, respected, and now influencing the next generation of artists. His role has shifted from simply being a singer to becoming a leader, someone people look to for wisdom and guidance. But with that new role comes heavier pressure. His mother knew that if people were going to follow Jonathan, they needed to understand the man behind the microphone. Her words provided context, showing fans that Jonathan's authority didn't come from perfection, but from the struggles he's endured and survived. Second, her timing wasn't only about Jonathan's career, it was about the cultural moment we're living in. Audiences today crave authenticity more than ever. People are tired of polished, untouchable images. They want realness, vulnerability, and truth. Jonathan's music has always tapped into that hunger, but his mother's confession took it one step further. It removed the last veil of mystery and reminded fans that behind those powerful lyrics stands a human being wrestling with pain. Just like they do. Her words connected perfectly with this cultural shift. Third, there's the family dynamic. Jonathan has always described his mother as his anchor, his prayer warrior, and his biggest supporter. So when she finally chose to speak publicly, it wasn't betrayal, it was love. She understood that her silence was no longer protecting him. In fact, it was leaving space for rumors and speculation to grow. By speaking her truth, she took control of the narrative and reminded the world that Jonathan's story is one of resilience. Not scandal, but there's another layer that many missed. In recent years, Jonathan himself has become more open. In interviews, he has hinted at struggles with identity, with purpose, and with the crushing weight of expectations. He never gave full details, but the cracks in the armor were starting to show. His mother's words seemed to fall right in line with that growing openness, as though she was amplifying what he had already begun to reveal in his own quiet way. And yet, here's the part that keeps fans uneasy. Her confession may also serve as a kind of preparation. Think about it, Jonathan is stepping into a new season where his platform is bigger than ever. Could it be that his mother wanted fans to be ready? To see the full picture before Jonathan himself decides to share even more? Some believe her timing wasn't accidental at all, but rather perfectly aligned with what's about to unfold in Jonathan's life and ministry. So, while her confession was shocking, it wasn't random. It was purposeful. It was emotional. And it was strategic. But the real question remains, what exactly did she confirm that left fans so stunned? What truth about Jonathan's journey was finally brought into the light?